What if Anakin never trusted Palpatine? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
Anakin, I'm appointing you to be my personal representative on the Jedi Council.
Me? A master? I'm overwhelmed, sir. If the council elects its own members, they'll never accept this.
I think they will. They need you. More than you know.
Palpatine smiles at him, a gesture meant to be reassuring. But Anakin can't help but have his misgivings. While he should feel elated, he can't help but feel distrustful of this. He indeed wants to be a Jedi Master, but he wants to achieve that rank on his own merits, and this idea of achieving it through politics leaves a bad taste in his mouth. He's already seen how getting the Order involved in politics has led to disaster with Ahsoka's trial. The idea of mixing those two again isn't something he likes. However, he cannot decline the Chancellor's offer and relays it to the Jedi Council. Unsurprisingly, they are not pleased and seem hesitant to accept. While they whisper to each other, Anakin takes the chance to speak up. If I may say, I do not approve of such a plan. It doesn't seem right for someone outside the Jedi Council, much less a politician, to dictate who is appointed on this council. Some of the Masters, Mace Windu and Yoda included, look at Anakin in surprise. Obi-Wan nods approvingly. As true as your assessment is, the Council has agreed to grant you this temporary seat. However, we do not grant you the rank of Master. Even though he expects it, Anakin can't help but feel hurt by this announcement. But as he glances over at the gathered council, he feels their eyes and expectations upon him. Master or not, he's still expected to behave in a manner fitting of this council. Taking a deep breath, Anakin nods. I understand. I just hope this doesn't sully your opinion of me, or make you doubt my loyalty to the Jedi.
On the contrary, Anakin, your maturity in this situation has impressed us. That is why we wish to tell you why we are giving you this position. You are correct that it isn't right for an outsider to dictate the affairs of the Jedi. That is why we wish to make sure the Chancellor does not try anything else.
While shocked, Anakin agrees to help with their idea. It was strange for the Chancellor to pull this move, and maybe this is something worth looking into. For the first few days, things seem pretty normal, as Palpatine focuses his efforts on rebuilding Coruscant and dealing with the Outer Rim sieges. He doesn't meddle in any affairs and leads the Republic as normal. At first, Anakin simply brushes this off as concern for her. After all, he was the former senator of Naboo and claimed he understands how stressful the job is without worrying about an impending birth. But he doesn't drop the topic. Instead, he continues to ask about Anakin's thoughts on it and his relationship with her. He says he knows how close they are and wonders whether he is taking it well. This gets Anakin's suspicion, and he decides to play along, admitting that he's had his worries about Padme, saying that he fears whether she'll be safe. Palpatine pounces on this and agrees.
Most certainly. I'm worried for her as well. How far does it go, if you don't mind me asking? Have you been thinking about it a lot?
Well, I've been having these dreams about her dying while giving birth. But they're just dreams. The Chancellor pounces on this opening. While feigning concern, he continues to ask Anakin about them. He asks about the details and what he's feeling, and Anakin feels his annoyance growing. This is the last thing he wants to talk about. As the weeks go on, the topic of Padme is never far from their conversations, as Palpatine continues to provide updates on her condition. He says that it is to reassure him that she is safe and that everything he does is out of concern for him. But Anakin is not certain. He reports all of this to the Jedi, but so far there is nothing that truly shows that Palpatine is plotting anything sinister. That is, until he makes another revelation. One day, as they talk, he asks whether he thinks Padme will be okay. Of course. She's a senator and has access to the best doctors in the galaxy.
True. Though you must admit it's useful to have those kinds of powers to help you.
Alarm bells begin to go off in Anakin's head as he hears that. He pays close attention to everything Palpatine says as he slowly drops hints at his ability to save Padme. When Anakin presses further, he tells Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. For Anakin and the Jedi, this is something truly shocking. Even the archives know nothing of this Darth Plagueis, meaning that Palpatine is either lying or he knows something about the Sith even they are ignorant of. The Council urges Anakin to get any more information that can confirm whether Palpatine is a Sith or not. Anakin takes this message to heart and continues on his mission. Part of him does this in service of the Jedi, but he also has personal reasons. If Palpatine is indeed the Sith, then he might have been the one responsible for his visions, and might be the real danger to her life. He continues feigning interest in Palpatine, asking about these powers, which the Chancellor takes as genuine interest. He doesn't reveal anything, but drops hints until, at last, Anakin asks whether he is a Sith Lord. At this point, the visions are getting so bad that he is starting to appear haggard and exhausted. Yet, there is determination in his eyes. Tell me what you know. You've hinted at powers, abilities that could save lives. I will learn these powers.
There is a way, but such knowledge, it does not lie with the Jedi.
You're a Sith Lord. The words hang in the air, and for a brief moment, Anakin reaches for his weapon. But Palpatine laughs and then shakes his head.
The Jedi would see you powerless, Anakin. They deny you the very knowledge that could save her life. Let me show you true power. Only I can prevent the danger that haunts you.
You mean the danger that you planted? If you think I'd fall for your lies, then you don't know me at all. He suddenly lunges forward, shouting out as he swings his lightsaber at Palpatine's neck. But in an instant, a crimson blade halts this attack, and Palpatine laughs, throwing him back. The Chancellor readies his lightsaber and rushes at him. Anakin is waiting, blocking these attacks and then sidestepping his attack. With a furious snarl, Anakin comes at him again, lifting objects from the ground and hurling them at him. The speed and aggression Anakin gives is nothing like the other Jedi. Although Palpatine blocks them, he's startled by the aggression. As they continue their dance, he fights with all the grace and mastery of lightsaber combat he has. Each strike is perfectly poised and positioned, and would have gutted most lesser Jedi, but Anakin manages to halt all of them. Instead of tiring, his attacks grow faster and more determined. Suddenly, Palpatine realizes that this battle is not going to be as easily fought as he thought. Quickly changing tactics, he ducks under another savage swing and activates his communicator, calling for his personal guard, who storms in with their electrostaffs at the ready. Anakin shifts to the guards, but their arrival takes away his momentum, forcing him to block against their savage thrusts, the electricity crackling dangerously close to him. Palpatine glances around and begins whirling his lightsaber around, not against Anakin, but against his things, shattering his desk, slicing gouges against the wall, and tearing up the seats. Then, for good measure, he slices his lightsaber across his arm, leaving a shallow burn just as he calls for the clones. Palpatine hides his lightsaber and clutches his arm just as Commander Fox emerges.
The Jedi has betrayed us. He seeks to kill me.
That's enough, General. Put your weapon down.
Seeing the situation, Anakin stares with wide eyes but refuses to back down as they surround him. Instead, he thrusts his hand out in a powerful force push and knocks them aside. Outside, more clones are waiting for him, but they aren't equipped to take down a Jedi, and Anakin fights his way out. He disappears out the hallways and into the Coruscant night. Palpatine wastes no time to jumping into this opportunity. He paints himself as a victim of a Jedi attack and insists that Anakin tried to murder him. With the destruction in his office and the scars on his arms, everyone believes him. He explains that he discovered an illicit love affair between Anakin and Senator Amidala and planned on exposing them. For the Jedi, this prevents them from acting out against Palpatine, since Anakin is now considered a tainted source. Any evidence he provides will now be heavily scrutinized, nor can they help him. At least, not officially. Instead, they secretly contact Ahsoka, who is fighting on Mandalore, insisting that she help them. Although in the middle of her campaign, Ahsoka leaves the bulk of the 332nd, including Rex, to command the operation, while taking a small force of their most trusted troopers back to Coruscant. Before she arrives, she has her contacts in the lower levels of Coruscant, Ventress and the Martez sisters begin looking for Anakin and help him hide from the authorities. Rafa eventually finds Anakin hiding in the lower districts, where police patrols are less common. She and Trace take him safely into Ventress's apartment until Ahsoka arrives. When he sees them, Anakin immediately embraces Ahsoka and explains how he was on a mission to learn about Palpatine's understanding of the Force and learned that he's a Sith Lord. This was him trying to prevent this information from getting out.
So, I guess this is how Fives felt all those months ago.
Fives? Didn't he say something about the Chancellor too? Yeah, you mentioned that. Something about someone controlling us. The Chancellor. Maybe he wasn't crazy after all.
If we can prove what he's saying is true, then maybe we can show that Palpatine is evil. He mentioned chips in the clones' heads. We need to find a lab where we can determine this.
Trace explains that there is only one modern laboratory on this level, and can lead them there. Dim lights flicker as Trace leads Anakin, Ahsoka, Kix, Jesse, and the others into a narrow hallway, careful to keep their voices down as a squad of Coruscant guards are stationed outside. But as they get inside, the lab's door slides open with a low hiss, revealing a sterile but aged workspace with a surgical suite.
This is it. I'll keep a lookout.
Kix lies down, his expression a mix of resolve and unease. Anakin places a hand on his shoulder.
Ready to vindicate your brother?
This is for Fives.
He closes his eyes as the machine begins working, conducting a slow but delicate surgical procedure to search for the chip. After a few tense minutes, they gasp as the chip slides out and appears in a contaminant tube. Kix sits up, rubbing his temple, his face slowly turning to shock. Ahsoka begins to analyze the data they gathered from the chip on the computer.
He's controlling them. Fives was right. The Chancellor. He's built in orders. Fail-safes.
Then we have proof. We can expose him.
Before they can act, Trace comes in, stumbling as she looks at them.
We have gunships inbound.
The room shakes with the sound of distant engines. Anakin peers through a narrow, dust-coated window and sees a Republic gunship descending toward the lab.
They're tracking us already? But how?
Palpatine anticipated this. He's not letting us walk away with what we know.
The gunships open fire, blasting the lab with cannon rounds. The walls shake, equipment shatters, and pieces of ceiling begin to crumble. Ahsoka leads the way, covering their escape as they sprint through the side corridors to a service exit. The rest of their group follow, Trace and Anakin helping Kix as he's still unsteady on his feet as windows burst and walls shatter, threatening the very foundations of this facility. A barrage of missiles send them tumbling to the ground as the facility threatens to give way underneath them. They barely clear the facility as the lab collapses around them, but the small group soon find themselves surrounded by squads of Coruscant guards. Anakin and Ahsoka ignite their lightsabers as Ventress pulls her red blades. They form a circle around the clones of the Martez sisters. Commander Fox appears at their head, holding up a holodisc with Palpatine's image.
I cannot believe you would stoop so low as to launch a terrorist attack against this medical facility, Anakin.
He shakes his head and clicks his tongue.
You won't think it's so funny once I get back up there and deal with you myself.
Oh, I think that would be most amusing. But not as amusing as this. Kill them.
The guards close in and open fire. Anakin and Ahsoka defend, blocking their shots, while Ventress leaps up and sweeps the nearest guards off their feet. 501st troopers fire stun rounds, while Ventress goes on the attack. Her movements are like a nightmare, tossing aside troopers while Anakin and Ahsoka keep Kix and the others safe. Just as the last Coruscant guard falls, the hologram of Palpatine flickers.
You are traitors to the Republic, and for that you shall be treated as such. Execute Order 66.
The clones stiffen, their faces darkening as the order sinks in. Anakin watches in horror as Jesse and his fellow soldiers turn, their weapons rising, now pointed at the Jedi they'd once called comrades. All except Kix, who remains confused and clutches his blaster normally.
Jesse, no. It's me, Anakin. Don't do this.
He tries to reason with the clone as he points his blaster at him. The others do as well, but while they focus on Anakin and Ahsoka, Ventress suddenly leaps forward and pushes Jesse back, letting his shots go wild. Two of his men come right at her, but she gives them a few quick blows as the rest open fire. The three of them raise their lightsabers and block against the attack, deflecting blaster bolts that come pouring at them. They're careful to redirect the shots away from them to avoid injuring them. Kix, Trace, and Raffe all crouch behind them as they open fire with their blasters, firing stun rounds at them. But this method is far from efficient, and the clones slowly advance on them.
Come on, Skywalker. You won't be the death of me. I know you're holding back.
We're not going to kill our men.
While they manage to stun a few, the rest continue to advance, including Jesse, who picks up a fallen electrostaff and twirls it as he comes at them. He rushes in between their group, forcing them to make room for him as they defend against his attacks. He thrusts and swings at Ahsoka, who whirls aside from his weapon. She barely avoids his attacks, catching the end with her shorter blade, and tries to knock him off his feet. But as she pushes him to the ground, 3 clones surround her. Anakin moves to help her, and another clone swipes at him, but a stun bolt hits him from behind, dropping him. The group looks up to see a group of pikes rushing at them. They emerge from the shadowy alleys and rooftops, blasters ready. They pour stun rounds into the troopers and quickly finish them off. Jesse is the last to fall, just as he tries to get up. Among these pikes is Fife, the major domo of Mar Krim.
Greetings, Master Jedi. Ah, the Martez sisters. You two are looking well.
Thanks for the assist. But I take it you have your own reasons for it.
If it were up to me, I'd gladly let the clones finish you off with all the trouble you've caused my master, Mar Krim. But it seems Master Maul believes you are useful and ordered us to aid you. He also instructed me to hand you this.
Fife reaches into his pocket and pulls out a data rod. Anakin takes it and places it into the folds of his tunic.
He heard the news of your actions against the Chancellor, Skywalker. He's impressed and wants to help. In there, you should have everything you need to take down this Sidious person he hates so much.
And what's the catch?
Maul has abandoned Mandalore now. Don't go after him.
Just as quickly as they appeared, the pikes slink back to the shadows they came from, leaving them to ponder their decision. The Martez sisters and Ventress take the unconscious clone troopers prisoner. With this data, they can present it to the Senate and clear Anakin's name. But they will need to sneak in, leaving Anakin to create a distraction. The Grand Room is silent, save for the faint hum of Coruscant's traffic far below. Palpatine stands at the expansive window, gazing out over the cityscape with his hands folded calmly behind his back as he waits for a report. Even if Anakin escapes, it's only a matter of time before he resurfaces. He had activated Order 37, the apprehension of a single target at all costs, even civilian casualties. The Jedi will resurface eventually. As those thoughts run through his mind, he hears the door open from behind him and chuckles. Sooner than it seems, Palpatine turns slowly, his face unreadable.
You didn't just try to kill me. You attacked innocent people. Civilians. All to keep your secrets hidden.
That is the price of power. I will make you pay it time and time again. The question is, are you willing to use the power I have to offer?
Anakin's hand tightens on his lightsaber hilt, his voice rising with frustration.
No one deserves to suffer because of you. You've manipulated everyone. The Senate, the Jedi, the clones. But it ends here.
Such strong words, Anakin. But is it courage? Or is it merely desperation?
Anakin ignites his lightsaber, the blue blade blazing to life. Without hesitation, he charges forward, his movements as quick and agile as ever, but each stride is filled with aggression as he swings hard. Palpatine's eyes narrow, and he raises his lightsaber, blocking the attack and redirecting it towards the wall.
Careful, Anakin. I just had this office rebuilt after your attack.
Anakin snarls and pulls his lightsaber out and unleashes a flurry of quick swings. The Chancellor had learned from his previous encounter and prepared himself. careful to fight defensively and avoid overexerting himself. But even this wasn't enough, as Anakin's sheer skill and aggression is something he hasn't faced before. They begin to leave Palpatine stumbling back as he tries to counter and defend against his attacks. He throws a burst of Force lightning that he redirects across the room and into an expensive painting.
Oh, well that seemed expensive. Be careful with your lightning.
Palpatine deflects Anakin's strikes with calculated precision, his expression smug even as he can sense the power within. But that power is useless unless Anakin can use it.
You know, Anakin, Padme had been quite worried about you. I was worried the stress might be getting hard for her, and something might happen to her children.
Anakin snarls, and his attacks become more aggressive, throwing a flurry of violent slashes. As he watches Anakin's frustration build and laughs, the sound causes Anakin's face to twitch furiously.
Come now, Anakin. Is this all your rage amounts to? You're holding back. If you had the strength, you would have done what's necessary already.
Anakin's face hardens, his strides become fiercer, each blow more intense as he channels his anger. He presses forward as Palpatine plays defense, meeting his attacks and letting them shatter against him. But it's getting harder as the rage Anakin feels begins to consume him. For a moment, his eyes flash yellow as the anger consumes him. He sees how far he's pushing the Jedi and laughs. Palpatine parries another attack, but leaps back from the follow-up slash and unleashes another burst of Force lightning. The blow strikes Anakin full force, who stumbles to his knees. He looks up and glares at Palpatine, his rage fully consuming him as he comes at him again. But this time, he finally breaks through Palpatine's defenses and drives him back against a marble pillar. Palpatine's smugness fades, replaced by a flicker of concern as he senses Anakin's resolve. With one final swing, Anakin disarms him, sending Palpatine's lightsaber skidding across the polished floor. He stands over the Chancellor, breathing heavily, his blade held inches from Palpatine's throat.
Do it, Anakin. Prove you have what it takes to lead. The Jedi have made you weak and hesitant. Finish it.
Anakin hesitates, his blue eyes blazing with anger. But he doesn't strike. Instead, he pulls back, extinguishing his blade with a sharp hiss.
No. I'm not like you. And I never will be. I'm still a Jedi.
For a moment, Palpatine's expression is one of pure fury. But it's quickly replaced by a twisted smile, a glint of something calculating in his eyes.
Such a shame, Anakin. I would have given you the galaxy.
You have no galaxy to give.
Palpatine's face looks at him in confusion. That is until he sees the Senate in session. On the Senate floor, Kix and Ahsoka are giving their testimony, including Maul's data rod, which contains all the information about Palpatine's connection to the dark side. The assassinations he's tasked Maul with committing, his business dealings, and the location of his bases. Coupled with the reports of the inhibitor chips, the evidence is overwhelming that Palpatine has played a role in starting the Clone Wars in attempting to seize power. They voted overwhelmingly to strip him of his power and to repeal all his recent commands, including giving Anakin a full pardon. Palpatine watches in horror as Anakin smirks at him. Without another word, he bolts towards a side exit until he reaches a hidden emergency landing platform. There, a sleek shuttle awaits him, the engines primed. As he climbs aboard, he activates a private comm to his remaining allies in the Senate while he takes off. Before he can make his way past them, he sees a squadron of Jedi starfighters led by Mace Windu approaching him.
Your time is up, Palpatine. Surrender, and perhaps the Senate will be merciful.
Palpatine grips the controls and lifts off, guiding his ship up in a frantic escape attempt. The shuttle rises swiftly, skimming between the towers, but the Jedi starfighters close in, blocking every possible escape route. Palpatine's fingers tighten on the controls as he desperately tries to dodge them as the Jedi open fire. Their coordinated assault hits Palpatine's shuttle. The ship lurches under the onslaught, engines failing as flames erupt along its hull. In a fiery explosion, the vessel crashes into the lower levels. The Senate reviews many of Palpatine's policies and reduces how much control the Chancellor has in the government. This allows Padme and others to begin democratizing and reallocating resources back to the people, serving them for the better. One of these actions includes removing the clone's inhibitor chips. With Palpatine destroyed, the Jedi are cleared of all charges, but he did have one long-lasting effect: the exposure of Anakin's marriage. He confesses to the Jedi Order, but they surprisingly allow it to slide. After everything Anakin did for them, they see now more than ever that he is trustworthy, and they make him a master. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.